Do you have a that area in your house? I know you do. You know how I know? Because we all have that area in our house. That area that we have been pushing off for months getting around to because it's built up and it's become this big monumental thing, and we just don't have the time to tackle it all at once. So, you know what? We're not going to tackle it all at once. But today we are going to tackle it 10 minutes at a time. This is actually day 2 of a 4-part series where we are tackling that area in our house. For me, it's this doom closet behind me. But for you, it might be a drawer or a cabinet or a doom room or just a pile in your master closet. If you didn't catch part 1, don't worry. There's not really any particular order that you have to watch all of these in. But I do recommend going back and watching it at some point because we're talking about a different topic every single day. Day 1, we talked about how do these spaces in our house actually happen? And more importantly, why we think they happen that is actually not really why they happen. Day 2, which is today, we're talking about 10 minutes and why it matters more than you think it does. Day 3, we are going to talk about setting realistic expectations for ourselves as moms, especially surrounding these kinds of areas in our home. And day 4, we are going to talk about the difference between inspiration and motivation and how people confuse the two and how one is reliable and one is not. So I hope that you are up for the challenge. You can do it. You can do 10 minutes today. Just 10 minutes. That's 600 seconds. So hit pause, go to that area in your house, get yourself mentally prepared, and when you're ready, press play, and we're going to jump into this together, and we are going to tackle that area in our house. Okay, let's get started. So if your project looks anything like mine and you started working with me yesterday, then you might have felt like this afterwards. Yesterday, after I got done filming, I put everything away and I went downstairs and I thought to myself, man, I'm so glad that I got started, but I still have so much left to do. And I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed by the project. And that's why I want to talk to you today about the importance of working in 10-minute increments. 10 minutes matters so much more than we realize. Yesterday, we talked about the reason that these areas accumulate in our house, the reason that they actually form in the first place. But today, I want to talk about why they don't get resolved. And that's different. Why they don't get resolved is because we allow them to get built up in our minds so big, they become this monumental task that we keep pushing off until we have the time for it. But the problem is, we usually don't ever have that big of a chunk of time. Let's be honest, we're busy. Like what I talked about yesterday, that's the reason that these piles form in the first place. We're too busy to deal with the issues right then and there, make the decisions right then and there. So we push them off. But we're never going to not be too busy. There's always something else that's going to take precedence. So when we're waiting for these large chunks of time to tackle these projects, the reality is that it's just never going to happen. And that's why we need to think a little bit smaller. We need to shrink the amount of time that we are working into something that we can actually handle. And we can actually handle working for 10 minutes a day. And in theory, that makes sense to us logically. But the reason that we don't end up taking action on it, like, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just decide, okay, I'm going to work for 10 minutes today? It's because we think it's not going to make a difference. We're going to get started on something, we're going to pull everything out, and then it's going to be this massive thing, and it's going to be even worse. And so we don't do it unless we can do the whole thing. But 10 minutes actually does make a difference. And there's 3 things that happen when you start to tackle things for 10 minutes at a time. So let's talk about what those things are. Number 1, you start to reacquaint yourself with reality. So often what keeps us from actually tackling these projects is because we imagine that they are going to be so much harder than they actually are. We know that there's going to be some difficult decisions in there. And so we turn that in our minds to being the whole project is going to be hard. every single thing that I touch in that closet is going to be a difficult decision. And in reality, that's just not true. And what working for 10 minutes does is it actually gets you immersed back into the reality of what is actually in that closet. Like what I mentioned yesterday about this closet being the physical representation of a difficult family planning choice for our family. This is baby clothes and maternity clothes. It's literally the representation through physical items of me and my husband having to decide whether or not we are done having children. And that feels huge in my mind. And so I was able to keep putting it off because I thought cleaning the closet was going to mean opening up that can of worms. But in reality, that's not what has happened. As I've gotten back into this project and I've started opening up the boxes and separating things, all I'm doing is sorting. I'm just deciding, okay, this is boys' clothes, this is girls' clothes, this is maternity clothes. I didn't have to face those difficult decisions in order to clean up this closet. And now, once this project is done, once everything is organized, it will be so much easier for me in the future when we decide, okay, we're going to have another baby, or maybe we're not going to have another baby, and so we're going to give some of these items away. It'll be so much easier to donate these when that time comes. So all I'm doing is just making my life easier. I'm not actually tackling those difficult decisions right now. And the only way that I was able to come to that realization, that coming back to reality, was by actually getting into this project and starting to touch the items that were in the closet. Okay, the second thing that happens when we start to work for 10 minutes at a time is we actually start to see the needle move. When we put off starting until we can do the whole thing, nothing ever gets done. But when you go in there and you start working for 10 minutes at a time, you actually start to see progress. You start to realize it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or even if it is as bad as you thought it was going to be, you're still making progress. You're doing more than what was happening with the alternative. The other way, nothing was happening. So even if you're only able to do 10 minutes at a time, that's still more than nothing. Eventually, it will get done. You just have to stay consistent. And number 3 that happens when we start to work for 10 minutes is we start to build confidence. We are establishing a commitment for ourselves, a promise. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to work for 10 minutes. And it's bite-sized enough that we are actually able to keep that promise to ourselves. And that builds so much trust, so much self-confidence that when I say I'm going to do something, I actually can do it. When you say, I'll take care of this when I can get around to it, when I have more time, and then that never happens, you're actually destroying trust with yourself. You're saying, I said I was going to do something and then I couldn't do it. Not through any fault of my own, but your brain doesn't realize that. It just says, I said I was going to do something and I couldn't do it. I'm not trustworthy. I can't trust myself to do the things that I said I was going to do. But by reversing it and saying, no, I'm only going to work for 10 minutes today, and then you actually do, you are setting yourself up for success, because you're going to start building confidence in yourself that when you say you're going to do something, you actually follow through. And building that trust with yourself is much more important than any physical difference that you are making in the actual space. I cannot put enough emphasis on how much the little things matter. Luke 16:10 reminds us that he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. We can't expect ourselves to tackle the big projects without first mastering the art of just showing up for 10 minutes. So as we continue to work with focus for the next few minutes, I'm going to stop talking, and I want you to take a moment and reflect on all of the amazing ways that you show up for your family already. You are already showing up in so many big ways. You are faithful in the big things. And if you can do that, then I know you can come back here every day for 10 minutes until this project is done. You've really made a difference today. And if this is your second day following along, you're probably starting to see some progress. Maybe you're gaining some motivation. Maybe you want to keep going. And I don't want to necessarily stifle that motivation for you, but I also want to encourage you to not push yourself further than you need to today. Because what we're aiming for here is consistency and showing up. So I would encourage you to start to find a stopping point as our time dwindles down. And we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Okay, our time is up for the day, and I'm actually feeling pretty good. We're getting some serious progress done. I've got a lot of sorting. It's no longer just a giant mass in the closet. I know what everything is. And yes, I've only just been able to throw things in boxes and say, this is girls' clothes, this is boys' clothes, this is maternity. But that is way better than it was. And I've only been working on this for 2 days of 10 minutes each. So 20 minutes, I have made a serious dent on this closet. And I hope you're feeling the same way. Depending on how big your project is, we probably haven't made too big of a dent, but we're doing something. And that is so much better than nothing. I hope at this point you're feeling pretty invested in this project and you're not going to give up. You're going to come back tomorrow for day 3. We're going to be talking about setting realistic expectations for ourselves as moms. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video when it comes out. And if this is helpful for you and you see the value in it, please send it to somebody else so that they can also go on this process with us. Let's pass the motivation around. And I would love to hear from you in the comments section. What are you working on? What have you been able to accomplish so far? Please leave me a comment below. And thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow for part 3.